Hi, I'm May from the province here in the Philippines. Today's topic is one that quietly confident, reserved men have been waiting to hear someone say out loud. Being the quietest person in the room is often not the disadvantage you've been told it is your entire life. Here's the brutal truth: loud, expressive, attention commanding men get noticed first. That's real, and there's no point pretending otherwise. But getting noticed first and being chosen deliberately, after genuine consideration, are two completely different outcomes. And the second one, the deliberate choice, is almost always the more valuable one. If you think volume and visibility are the same thing as genuine attractiveness, you've been measuring yourself against the wrong standard your entire life. The man who gets remembered after the room quiets down is rarely the loudest one who was in it. So here's my promise today. I'm going to walk you through exactly why quiet, reserved men are often chosen over louder, more expressive ones by people who are genuinely paying attention, and what it is about quietness specifically that creates this dynamic. Stay with me, because the last point on this list reframes the entire conversation about introversion and attractiveness in a way most quiet men have never heard before. Let's clear up a fantasy a lot of quiet men carry around without realizing it. They assume the solution to feeling overlooked is to somehow become louder, more expressive, more willing to perform for a room. That assumption makes sense on the surface. It's also almost always the wrong prescription because it misidentifies the actual problem. Here's what's actually happening underneath. Quiet men aren't overlooked because they're quiet. They're occasionally overlooked in specific, loud, crowded environments that genuinely favor volume over depth. Change the environment or change the time horizon, and suddenly quiet stops being a disadvantage and starts being exactly what distinguishes you from everyone else who performed loudly and then had nothing left to say. And here's the part that matters. If you've spent years feeling like your natural quietness was something to apologize for, or overcome, or manage carefully so it didn't cost you opportunities, that exhaustion is real, and it makes complete sense. You were playing a game designed for a different personality type and wondering why it kept feeling wrong. That's not a character flaw. That's just a mismatch between who you actually are and the environment you were trying to succeed in. That mismatch, though, doesn't follow you everywhere. In the right context, with someone paying genuine attention, quietness stops being a limitation and becomes one of your most distinguishing qualities. If you want the actual framework for understanding how to use your natural quietness deliberately in the contexts where it actually works for you rather than against you, grab my guide, The Philippine Dating Antidote. Links in the description. Now, let's get into exactly why quiet men get chosen when someone's actually paying real attention. Think about two musicians performing on the same stage. One plays loudly, filling every possible silence with sound. Technically impressive, constant movement, never a moment of stillness. The other plays with genuine intention, leaving deliberate space between notes, letting the silence itself carry meaning. From a distance, the loud one gets more immediate attention. Up close, over time, the one using silence deliberately is the one people actually remember. That's exactly the dynamic quiet men operate in. The loud performer gets the immediate glance. The quiet one gets the long second look, the genuine curiosity, the deliberate choice. And a deliberate choice, made after real consideration, is worth incomparably more than a reflexive glance triggered by volume. Keep that image in your head for the rest of this list. You're not competing for the glance. you're earning the deliberate choice. Here's exactly why quiet men get chosen over loud ones by people genuinely paying attention. 1. Quiet men listen with their whole attention, and genuinely attentive listening is rarer and more valuable than most people realize until they've experienced it. A loud man is often thinking about what he's going to say next while you're still talking. A quiet man is actually absorbing what you said, processing it, responding to the actual content rather than the next opening in the conversation. That difference is felt immediately and deeply by anyone paying real attention. 2. Quiet men create genuine space for the other person to exist fully. Loud, dominant conversationalists often unconsciously compress the space around them, filling it with their own energy until there's not much room left for anyone else. A quiet man expands that space naturally, making the person he's with feel genuinely seen and heard, rather than just a supporting character in someone else's performance. 3. Quiet men tend to say things with more deliberation, which means when they do speak, their words carry significantly more weight. A man who speaks constantly devalues his own words simply through volume. A man who speaks selectively, choosing his moments, makes every word matter in a way that constant talkers simply can't replicate. 4. Quiet men are generally more comfortable with silence itself, which is a surprisingly powerful quality. Someone who panics during a conversational pause and rushes to fill it signals anxiety and discomfort. Someone who can sit comfortably in shared silence without needing to perform or explain it signals a deep internal security that's genuinely rare and genuinely attractive. 5. Quiet men often project a kind of mystery that louder men, through sheer transparency, make impossible. When someone tells you everything about themselves immediately, there's nothing left to discover. When someone reveals themselves gradually, deliberately, with genuine depth behind each reveal, they become someone worth staying curious about. That sustained curiosity is what keeps genuine interest alive long after initial excitement would have faded. 6. Quiet men tend to be more observant, noticing details about the person they're with that louder, more self-focused people simply miss. He remembers what she said 3 conversations ago. He notices when her energy shifts before she said a word about it. He asks follow-up questions about things she barely mentioned in passing. That level of attention communicates something profound. You were actually paying attention to me, not just performing at me. 7. Quiet men generally handle conflict with more thoughtfulness and less reactivity, which creates a specific kind of emotional safety that becomes more valuable the longer a relationship continues. The initial excitement of a dramatic, passionate personality often gives way to exhaustion over time. The steady, thoughtful presence of a quiet man becomes more attractive the longer someone actually lives alongside it. Now, here's where I have to be honest with you. Understanding these 7 qualities intellectually is completely different from actually embodying them consistently, especially in environments that still reward volume and performance over depth. Most quiet men already possess these qualities naturally. They just haven't been taught to see them as genuine strengths rather than polite consolation prizes for not being louder. That's exactly why I built the Philippine Dating Antidote around practical, real-world application, not just a list of qualities to recognize in yourself, but an actual framework for presenting those qualities deliberately in the contexts where they matter most, so the right person actually gets to see them instead of missing them entirely. Why continue underselling yourself in environments that reward the wrong things? when an entire system designed to help you show up fully in the right ones already exists? Grab it in the pinned comment and stop apologizing for exactly the qualities that make you genuinely worth choosing. Here's the real truth underneath everything on this list, and it's the part most quiet men have never actually heard said directly to them. The world spent a long time telling you that quietness was a problem to manage, a limitation to compensate for, a personality trait that needed correcting before you could fully participate. That message was wrong. Not partially wrong, not wrong in some contexts, but right in others. Just wrong. Quietness, real quietness, the kind built on actual depth rather than just shyness or social anxiety, isn't a lesser version of loudness. It's a completely different quality, with completely different strengths, that simply requires a different environment and a different kind of attention to fully recognize. The people capable of that recognition are almost always the ones worth being chosen by in the first place. Now breathe. None of this means you need to perform your quietness more loudly, or start marketing yourself as the mysterious, deep type, or turn your natural personality into a calculated strategy. A man in his 60s who's genuinely comfortable in his own quietness, who's stopped apologizing for it, who shows up fully as himself, without trying to be anything louder or flashier than he actually is already in exactly the right position to be seen clearly by someone capable of genuine appreciation. You don't need to change. You need to stop hiding. That man, the quiet one who's finally stopped pretending he'd rather be louder, is the one who eventually earns the deliberate choice, not the reflexive glance, the long, considered, genuine decision to actually choose him. And that choice, made by someone paying real attention, is worth everything the loudest man in the room will never actually have. So tell me, has your quietness ever been mistaken for coldness or disinterest by someone who wasn't actually paying close enough attention? I'd genuinely love to hear that story in the comments. This channel exists for one simple reason: to help good men understand that their natural qualities are already enough, in the right context, with the right person paying real attention. That's the whole mission. And if today's video helped you in any way, I'm not going to ask for anything big. Just toss a tip my way for a bucket of Jollibee chicken, or a cold San Miguel after a long day of filming. Every bit keeps this channel running. Until next time, stay quiet, stay deep, and I'll see you in the next one.